So I wasn't planning on making this video today, but it is so freezing that I literally can't think about anything else. I thought I would talk about color temperature because, you know, it's freezing in temperature and ha ha ha, she's punny, isn't she? So temperature is often measured in a unit called Kelvin, and Kelvin is related to atomic level, I believe, and basically it talks about absolute zero, and absolute zero equates to, I think, minus 273.5 Celsius, but I'll put a correction if I'm wrong. But Kelvin is also used to measure color temperature, and it's kind of ironic that I'm doing this today because I have no Wi-Fi and my Elgato key light connects to my devices via the internet, and I have no internet right now, so I can't use my main key light, so I'm back to using like my awful tiny Diddy lights that I had for months in the past. I want you to focus on where the purple is landing, okay? So you can see it on my mic here, and you can see it about on my face. When you're talking to like a lighting professional on set, they will often tell you like if they want a cool white or a warm white. It normally relates to white light because that's like the purest form of light. It's when all the colors compare together, you get white light. If you talk to a lighting professional on set, they'll rarely tell you the exact Kelvin they want a light to be, in my experience. They'll tell you if they want like a neutral, a warm, or a cold light. Although I do think it would be better if everyone could work in exact Kelvin, but you can't really account for the fact that different camera lenses, different environments, different shadows will affect the way the light looks on camera. So when you have to describe it to multiple people in a room, you'll normally say if you're wanting like a true neutral or a warm or a cold, because that is like more easy to convey the tone of the shot. I'm personally a fan of like the neutral leaning into blue light. The numbers that tend to represent it is like, I think 9000 K is like the most blue end of the spectrum that I've seen, and then on the lower number is more towards the red scale of things, the more orangey skin tones. So that's more like about 2,000 to 3,000, I think. I'll put like a little chart for demonstration visual purposes here. I was kind of curious why they didn't involve other colors on this spectrum too much. I tried to look up where stuff like green and purple came into the mix, and they would always just say, oh, it's like a shade of blue. And then obviously red would be like the further version of orange. But if you want to look at this light here, I've got the purple light casting on my hand, for example, and on this side of the mic, then I'm going to compare a few options for you, and I'll set it to white mode. You can kind of see how like this is filled up more. This is supposedly the true neutral, but on the visual and on my camera, I can see it's still like a little yellow. If I move it more to the blue side of the spectrum, I would say that balances out to more of a neutral in my opinion. It's probably part of how the light reflects off the white walls in the room as well, and you can actually see that I've got a much colder light here on my little Diddy light and another one up there as my key lights, because I'm a fan of like cold colors on me, and because I'm a really pale person generally. I don't think this particular combination is very flattering. They talk about combining tones of white a lot in interview style setups like talking head, documentaries, the sort of stuff where you've not got a lot of fun B-roll going on, because they want it to be the most beautiful shot ever, and if you have the same colors at every angle, then it ends up looking very flat. I do think generally the population can agree that one of the most pleasing ones is when you see like almost a pure daylight looking white on their main face as the key light, and then the accents or a hair light behind them is like kind of goldeny orange like the sunset. I think that's pretty beautiful. People tend to do the inverse of that when they want you to look kind of uncomfortable. And maybe like a little sickly too. But I always think it's fun how people can play around with those sort of things and get different results for the tone they're trying to set. So this is what I would consider a more neutral white, even though the Govee app doesn't agree with me. If I send it to the most blue end of the spectrum, you can see, I feel like you can see it really aggressively on this bit of the tapestry here, to be honest. Like it's really, really made it concentrate and bright. That's kind of blending out with the key lights I've got now, but you can see it's like a more blue tone if I like... So I was going to say if I turn towards it. If I lean back a bit further, you can see a bit better. And then if I jump to the most orange end of the spectrum right away, then you can see like the aggressive difference. Like, see what I mean about it looking a bit more sickly? Like if I make it middle orange, then I just think that doesn't look very good by comparison. I'll put it back to like middle. Normally when you're working with your camera presets for white balance, it'll have stuff that says like daylight, overcast, tungsten is like the most blue one, and these are all different preset versions of predefined Kelvins. So when you get to the more manual version of operating your camera, then you can choose the specific Kelvin you want, and you can go down the granular level and say like you want 3812K, I don't know. Other sensors will have different max capabilities, but that's something you should consider when you're playing around with your lighting. Let's say you have a very blue setting on your camera, so you've gone for like tungsten mode, everything looks like completely cast into blue, and then you put an incredibly orange light on your main subject, then the majority of the frame will look blue, but then you might be more likely to have a closer to pure white key light on your subject. And inversely, if you were on the beach and you had a really orange Kelvin set on your camera settings, on your white balance, like you've got it at about 3000K, and then you wanted to make it look like your character was like having a comparatively normal time, like maybe you just drank something really cold and you wanted to chill, then you could put a really blue light on them and it would cancel out the color contrast. So I just thought that was some interesting trivia that you could go away with. Hopefully it's a helpful tip for when you're shooting on set in your own little productions. Quite a beginner tip, but I want to get the spectrum on this channel. If you want to see more content creation and digital marketing advice in the future, make sure you subscribe, and then also check out my shop for some new products I'm posting. And if you notice the difference between this video and videos I posted more recently, then you'll be aware of just the difference that my fancy Elgato key light makes, and I can't wait till I can use it again as my key light. But if you want to get one for yourself, then you can find an affiliate link in the description, and that will really help me support the channel and post more stuff more regularly. Thank you, have a nice day, goodbye.